Hi, I'm Melanie Shaver, Director of Foothills Community School, and this is Sierra, and we are here to kind of tell you all about FCS's progress reports. So, as we are in the middle of our first project, we see that our learning targets are here. This is what a student should know after they have finished their first project. So, what we are looking at is science, and we are going to briefly look at social studies as well. Sierra will be playing the role of the teacher, and I will be playing the role of the student, and we are going to enact what has happened between the teacher and the student in a conference where they have marked on their progress report.
Okay, so can you identify the reproductive structures of flowering plants?
Well, I think that there's a pistil and a stamen and pollen. Pollen's really important, right? Is there an ovule? Maybe an ovary? But the petals are really they're just kind of showing off and attracting bees so that the bees can pick up the pollen and make sure that it hits the pistil, right?
Well, the pollen inside the liquid, the smell is attracting the bees.
Oh, so it's not just the color?
No, that just attracts humans.
Okay. So I guess because I didn't know that the smell was actually attracting the bees, I would probably say I'm at standard on that because I did recognize the reproductive parts.
I think you're approaching standard just because you do not know what all the parts are and what it means, like what parts, like what the bees coming in, getting to pollinate the plant. You thought it was the petals, and you need to know that that's a big part of the reproduction.
Okay, well, I have a little room to grow there. I'm going to write down on my paper that I need to know that bees are attracted to the smell. I'll continue studying this.
Can you understand patterns of hereditary in genetics?
So it says that I can discuss why they have the traits that they have or why other people have the traits that they have. I have the traits that I have because my dad had brown hair and brown eyes, and my mom had red hair and blue eyes. Brown hair is a dominant trait, whereas red hair and blue eyes is recessive.
I would say that is correct.
Okay.
I would say you're superior.
I feel like I have a superior understanding of this as well because I also understand that my grandparents on my dad's side, he inherited his dark eyes and dark hair from both of them.
Okay, can you understand patterns of hereditary and understand the variety of life from sexual reproduction of plants and animals?
So it says that I can discuss why family members and plants look different yet have some of the same features. So even though my dad has dark hair and dark eyes, and my mom has blue eyes and red hair, I have some of my dad's traits, obviously with the dark hair and the dark eyes, but my dad has really great eyesight, and my mom doesn't, which is probably why I wear glasses. So because of the sexual reproduction and the crossing of traits that they had when that occurred and when I was created, then I think that I got some genes from my dad and some genes from my mom. And that's why I have the traits that I have.
Yes, that is correct. Can you explain why?
Well, during sexual reproduction, the cells go through something called meiosis or meiosis. And when they go through that, they share the genes from the male and the female partners in order to have a variety of traits that help build biodiversity in life.
Okay, I would say you have superior in that. Can you interpret pedigree charts to analyze inherited family traits or genetics diseases?
So I don't really feel comfortable with the pedigree chart. Can you help me understand that a little bit better?
Well, in a pedigree chart, there's squares for males and circles for females. So let's say your parents are at the top. It would be square and circle. There would be a line to say they reproduced, and then below it would be you and if you have any siblings. And then if you, whatever trait you're trying to show, like if you want brown eyes, your dad has dominant, and your mom would have recessive, and you would have dominant because dominant goes over recessive.
But would I have dominant, or is there a 100% chance that I would be heterozygous?
You'd probably be heterozygous.
Yeah, I probably would be heterozygous, which is like a hybrid, so I would have a dominant and a recessive. So I think that maybe I'm approaching standard on that because I do understand the dominant and recessive, but I'm not sure how to put that in a chart.
Yes, I would say you were approaching standard.
And so in order to get better at this, I feel like I need to practice drawing pedigree charts.
Yes.
Did you know that you could use pedigree charts for more than just people?
Yes, you can use them for sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes or animals even.
Can you use a Punnett square to describe the possible distribution of inherited traits from parents to offspring?
So when I look at the possible distribution, I am looking at the Punnett square and identifying traits of the parent and what the probability is. Since my dad is probably big B to have dominant brown eyes, and my mom is probably little b for her recessive gene and having blue eyes, I would have a 100% chance of having brown eyes because the dominant one is going to be the phenotype that is shown.
Yes, you understand. So I would say you have superior on that one. Okay, can you recognize examples of cultural expressions in various civilizations and societies and how they influence society today?
So, like, are you talking about, like, social media and how that, you know, we have the grumpy cat, and that kind of represents America because, like, people are grumpy?
In a way, but the expressions are kind of like communications between humans. Like, in, like, culture, like, different cultures.
But isn't that social media, like, culture and, like, communication?
Well, yeah, but what about verbal? Like, instead of just, like, on devices, what about humans?
Well, can you give me an example of a cultural expression that came from a past or current civilization?
Let's see. A cultural expression would be the pyramids.
Okay, why would that be a cultural expression?
Because they're Egyptians, if it's from Egypt, that's their culture. Their culture is to put, like, kings and, well, emperors, whenever they died, they put them in the pyramids.
So where do we see pyramids at today?
In Egypt, mainly. There are others, but it's mainly in Egypt.
How has that influenced our society?
Because after the years, people stole from the pyramids and from the emperors and the kings, and they stole from it. And today we don't put jewels and clothes and stuff in our graves whenever people have died. We just bury them, and yeah.
Okay. All right. So I don't really feel like very comfortable with that standard. I think I need some more work there. So where would you put me there?
I would say you're halfway through below standard, which means you're almost to approaching standard, but you're still a little bit at below.
Okay, so I'm going to mark that I'm below standard, but tell me how I can practice to understand a little bit more.
Well, since we have the Chromebooks, we could research different cultural expressions between different ages. Like for different grades, you would research different things. Like 7th grade researches the Renaissance, 6th grade researches the Egyptians and the ancient times, and 8th graders research more of a current time. So, depending on what grade you are in.
Well, I've already done a lot of research on the Egyptians. Do you think that I could go into the Renaissance?
For further understanding, I think you should, just to understand it more. But since you're only in the 6th grade, I wouldn't use that as assignments. And I would go to maybe Mesopotamia, because that's a different 6th grade, or China, or India. There's many of them. There's not just the Egyptian.
Oh, okay. So I get to choose some other ones as well. Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for meeting with me about social studies and science. I feel like I kind of have an understanding of where I'm at and how I can improve.
Okay.
All right. Guys, hopefully this has helped you to see how a teacher, Miss Sierra, and a student, which I played in that role, would have this conversation about where a student is performing based on those standards. This conversation has happened in each of their classes this week and last week in order to help students understand where they're at and how they can improve. Please check your students' learning targets and their progress report when they get home. They'll have the ability to continue to improve on these same targets as well as a few more in the next several weeks. They will get another progress report at the end of those several weeks. Thanks for tuning in.